Boom.
That wasn't you, that was the foot tickle.
Okay, so where I left off, we had just done this maneuver to stretch things out, and I like to add some additional stuff into this one. I saw Carly do, we should put a nod to pec dressage, which is this one here. You just be careful if you've got hairs on the chest, that you don't start winding the hairs up into little balls, because that's quite a circular motion. So okay. So we went into that pinching motion, which I quite like. So if you just take that arm all the way down towards the couch, so tight, all the way down, release, let it go. I tend to put my thigh here, and then if I encourage you to squeeze your shoulder blades back and together, and then bring your elbow down, and then just hold it there for 20 seconds. Push against my knee. So now you're starting to ask the person to innervate the latissimus, which will pull the shoulder blades back and round as well. So you're starting to do a isometric contraction for latissimus. Good, and then release, let it go, and then come into a little bit of more abduction as well. And I quite like doing that because the latissimus will be weak because the pecs are tight and bringing the shoulders forwards. So just getting them to mobilize and contract, taking their arm down, down, relax, squeeze those shoulder blades back and together, add a little bit more stretch into the pecs, and then bring your elbow down, it'll meet my knee, and then just push and hold for 20 seconds. So with the pecs, you can start to do your homework. Your post-treatment care would be you need to try and get this latissimus working more and more to take the pressure off the pecs. Now, we've done this one I think before as a passive stretch, but taking the arm into, so you're pretty good in this range of movement. You've got really good external rotation. You're essentially stretching out the subscapularis, which does internal rotation, but it'll also add a bit of a stretch to the pec. So it's quite nice to follow up this MET with this MET, whereby you hold on to the spine of the scapula, your knee or thigh is just holding that arm in 90 degrees of abduction. Place your hand on their wrist and just ask them to push your wrist into internal rotation. Okay, holding 20% effort, 10 seconds, release, nice deep breath, and then take it to the neck point of bite. You don't really need much MET work going on this one, so we won't go too much more into this one. If you bring your body over the edge of the couch, that's it. When you ask someone to do this, you want to try and get them to go in a diagonal. You don't really want their hips on the edge of the couch, you just want the shoulder free of the couch. Take it into about 120, but it can pinch on the brachial plexus in this position. So you just find an area that feels comfortable and an area where you're getting a stretch through the pecs. Does that feel like a stretch? Mm-hmm. And then in a pec fly motion, keeping the elbow straight, pushing up against my hand, okay, for a pec. MET, release. Do you mind passing me one of those towels, maybe the head towel? Sorry for the person's towel that it is. So if we go back to center, you can, rather than move the whole person off the edge of the couch, you could ask the person to just roll onto their side, tuck this underneath the arm, create a little bit of elevation, and then you'll probably get the stretch in that position as well. So you don't have to move the body, that works just as well. Good. Right. Into a side lie position. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this one because we did the trapezius muscles on Tuesday. So everything in this area here. The opposite to the trapezius muscles, or a muscle which gets weaker from the pecs being tight and the trapezius being tight, would be your teres minor and major. So it's quite nice to just follow up this whole routine by just going into teres major and minor. Now, if you remember your anatomy for this one, so I'll borrow your arm, you're finding the lateral border of the scapula, in and around here. The teres comes off the lateral border about halfway up. So you've got teres major, which I'm just sliding over there. it flicking out from underneath me. And then just in the little gap between teres major and tricep, and you might go on to tricep here, is teres minor, just in this area here. It's a tricky one to find, but it unlocks the shoulder. It's a really important one to find, I think. I think there's so many treatments where I've done this one, and it just loosens everything up, because the teres goes from the border of the scapula into the upper humerus in this position. So if it gets tight, it means that the shoulder is going to, the scapula is going to come out with the humerus as you go into abduction. It's not going to have that nice 2-to-1 scapulohumeral rhythm. It's essentially going to be stuck together and come out together, which means you have to shrug in order to get your abduction flexion. Does that make sense? This scapula and this arm are going to move as one unit. So you want to try and separate those areas. So we're looking for this area here, and that's it there. Feel the winds on there, I'm just on thumb pressure. And so I like to hold the arm, come into your scapula, we found teres minor just about there, got a little nod, and then try and separate the arm from the scapula. Soft tissue. So we've done like your compressions already. Remember, we've done the compressions, and you need to go through your trigger pointing, and you need to go through your transverse frictioning. That's all really important, but the mobilization of the joints, which gets stuck down, is pretty much what makes level 4 and these treatments so much more impactful. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Just take it into abduction and release. You could bring the arm back towards me, and so on transverse soft tissue releasing it in that direction, and I've just glided over the front, and then if I bring the arm forwards, there it goes back underneath my elbow, I'm right on it, so I'm just completely separating that muscle from the scapula, and it makes the whole thing open up. And I think in terms of freedom of movement in the shoulder, it's one that is so often missed but so important in this whole sort of spinal shoulder condition, upper cross syndrome. A little bit of effouage, you don't have to go straight into it. So for women, this hand would be across your chest. This hand can go, so keep it there. Imagine you've got boobs. There we are. There we go. And then we can do a nice effouage all the way down the mid-systems as well.
I think even like that should be exposing me personally.
Yeah, so you'd have to make a judgment as to whether it's. But that's where you're aiming for, just in. If you come to seated, there's so many different ways of doing your METs for the pecs, but you'll want to know a few, because pecs have lots of different tightnesses, lots of different presentations as to how they feel when you're massaging them. And it would be interesting to see, you should be able to do this one, but putting the hands on the base of your back. There we go. And then I feel like a nice stretch. And then just push into my hands, 20% effort. And then just relax, let it go. And you can move it a little bit further. Okay. That pulling the arm down, lying face up, is more for pec minor, so it doesn't feel like a sort of main pec stretch. These other ones are for the pec major. That's it. Okay, so we go with caution, but I want you to try it. I mean, it's so hard to find that you might spend a bit of time just trying to find that teres minor and major. Find the lateral border of the scapula. Halfway up, you're on teres major. Glide over teres major, and then you sink into teres minor. It's very close to the tricep, so you might get referral going down the tricep if you hit the tricep tendon, and try and get into that. I often donate my body for teres. It's my favourite one. All right, and then that's everything. When you've done that, we'll have half an hour, and you should go through some range of movement assessments using the forms for the shoulders, neck, back. Okay, and then that's it. And that's it. That's Easter. That's a wrap.
Oh, that's a wrap. Messy gal. I kind of joined in on you guys, by the way. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries.
I just
You got to add anything else in?
What's that, sorry?
Let's do the right side this time.
Yeah.
And that's the right side.
Right.
Yeah. Right side. Right side.
Go on then.
Pause and then.
I will.
Is that alright? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hold on then. Before I take my toppy off.
Oh, yeah.
See ya! See ya!